On Monday, Apple hosted its 2026 WWDC event, and to no one's surprise, it was mostly centered around artificial intelligence. And I watched the 2-hour event twice just to make sure that this video is a good recap of everything they announced, so that all you Apple consumers out there know what's going on and what the future might hold for Apple software. So let's take a look.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us today at Apple Park, and welcome to WWDC.
As expected, the main event was mostly focused on artificial intelligence and Apple's adoption of it. And some of you might know that Apple coined artificial intelligence as Apple Intelligence, kind of their own thing. And in 2024, they released this. It was Apple Intelligence here, Apple Intelligence there, and it was going to be released on multiple devices and it was going to work perfectly. And spoiler alert, it never did. All these promises were actually never met. But this might actually be different now. iOS 27 actually looks different. We might actually have a smart assistant that can do multiple tasks you can actually have a conversation with if you want to. And finally, I think, and I think others out there also think, that Apple might have actually cracked it. They have maybe made a useful virtual assistant. We'll have to wait until the fall, of course, but that's one thing that they definitely showed on Monday that actually looks really promising. The new assistant is called Siri AI, and the whole point of it is that it's a new rebuilt Siri that's actually intelligent. In the past, when you had any queries or questions, it would just refer you to a link, which was completely useless. But the new Siri AI has contextual awareness. It can read your messages, your emails, and it can pinpoint exactly when you've made appointments or shipping, stuff like that. It can track everything for you, so you just have to ask. And it looks really promising. They had this small showcase that you could go to the coast. You can ask Siri AI, please map me the directions to the coast and have me make a stop by my friend's house. And it would map the whole thing. It would map you to your friend's house and then to the coast. Easy like that. And it couldn't do this in the past. And it's quite impressive. And I think that competitors might be a little bit worried, considering it's actually quite a good improvement. I have to explain that Apple's Siri model is now based on Google Gemini's architecture. So it's not Apple's own creation, but I'm glad that they're leaning on a more reliable AI model than their own. If you remember, there was Image Playground in the past. This kind of sucked. It didn't do the job, it didn't do anything useful, but now it's actually changed. It can actually create feasible, good-looking images. So that's a 1-up in my opinion. We got a good look at the cleanup feature on the Photos app thanks to Siri AI. You can now remove objects that are floating around in frame that you don't want there, and it could remove these objects in a very natural way. They wouldn't exactly seem out of place. You could reframe your images as well. That was also showcased. I saw a cool Instagram video of someone who cleaned up a picture where they were holding a Coke can in front of their face. The Coke can got removed by Siri AI, and then all of a sudden their face did actually show up. And I suppose it does this by referring back to pictures that it has in the Photos app, and then it recreates the face just to look natural. It was actually really impressive. So it could actually be useful for once, unlike the old videos. During the keynote, Apple actually did something that most tech companies wouldn't. They sided with the parents. They improved the privacy and the safety for kids using Apple devices, and it's actually really smart. By prioritizing families and the safety of their children on devices from Apple, they kind of hooked future families into the Apple ecosystem. So now children will be safer online. They will get warnings when they get messages from people that they don't know. They even added new features where you had to request screen time access or device access or contact access even to your parents, so that parents know that their children will be safe when using a mobile phone. And it's actually really smart. It's a great business model in my opinion, considering that if you can get the families in now, then all their Apple devices will kind of trickle down the family. Then their kids will adopt Apple products, and then it just keeps on going. And it's also just a good thing in general. If you ignore the whole business model part of it, I'm glad to see that there's a huge tech company that actually prioritizes the safety of people online over that of profitability. And it's actually a really nice feature. And I'm glad to have seen that they actually did this. That's my take on it. I really like that, and it was actually, in my opinion, one of the better parts of the whole keynote. Now let's take a look at the changes for macOS and visionOS. For macOS 27, it's kind of the same as iOS 27. macOS 27 now has the updated Siri assistant, and you get all these new useful features from Siri to power your MacBook. And of course, the silicon chips within the MacBooks are convenient because everyone these days loves the silicon chips, and a lot of data centers for AI actually use the silicon chips from the MacBooks. So it seems that it's quite appropriate that the MacBook now also has adopted the Siri AI. Apart from that, there's not much changes, I have to say that. It's just a lot of AI on every single OS that is available from Apple, so spoiler alert, I suppose. Meanwhile, Vision OS 27 got some quality of life improvements and of course the adoption of Siri AI. And by adopting Siri AI, you can now turn a panoramic image into a 3D landscape you can kind of look around. It's quite niche because I don't know anyone who has the Vision Pros. They're quite niche, they're quite expensive, so I'm glad to see some attention is being directed towards the Vision OS. It's good to see this from a company, but it's not that useful for me, and it's not that useful for most of the people watching this video, I think. So we can kind of just move on from this, I think. I just want to jump in and ask if it's possible if you could subscribe. I could use the support, as you can tell under my logo. It just shows 204 subscribers when I uploaded this, so it's not a lot, and I'd love to receive your support if it's possible. I'm gonna go away now so you can continue watching the useful video. It's not all good news though. Definitely for people who live in Europe. If you want to adopt the Siri AI features on your iPhone in Europe, you won't be able to as of right now due to regulatory issues with Apple. Siri AI is currently not greenlit in Europe, which does kind of suck. You can't use the awesome new features they showed on Monday in Europe, and if this doesn't change by the fall, I don't even know what that means. If you think about it, Europe made up to 27% of all the iPhone sales for Apple last year, and if iOS 27 would be the selling point of the iPhone 18, iPhone 18 Pro, and there is no iOS 27 for this with all the cool Siri features, then that 27% might actually shrink. I'm just putting that out there. I hope that they resolve this, of course, but it's difficult for me to believe that they can. Apple blamed Europe, and then the EU kind of got back at them on Tuesday saying like, no, this is your fault. So it was, yeah, it's a game of cat and mouse right now, and he said, she said kind of things where no one wants to take accountability for the issue and no one wants to resolve the issue either. So right now it's kind of like a stalemate. No one knows what's going on, so we kind of just have to wait and see, and I really do hope that this does get resolved because I'd love to use iOS 27 in the fall. Apart from Apple's minimal focus on their appearance changes for iOS 27 and the adoption of Siri AI, they really focused on the privacy. And everyone kind of knows that this has been Apple's focus for a very long time now. They like to show this Apple locking mechanism. They showed it like 8 times, I think, just to ingrain it in the viewers that Apple is safe to use. And of course, Siri AI is kind of run by Google Gemini, and Google Gemini is by Google, obviously it's in the name, and Google is notorious for selling data to users. So of course Apple really has to show, we are not selling your data. They have this cool thing that if you can go to a server and show that they're housing data from users requested by the whole Siri AI stuff, that they will pay out whoever finds this information in the data servers. So it's actually really cool. They kind of have a bet going on with the public, like if you can find your data on our servers, then we'll pay you out, that kind of thing. So it's quite cool. I really hope that they are like adhering to their privacy statements. I think they are. We'll have to see in the future. Right now, of course, this is the issue that they have with the EU. We'll see how it develops in the future, but considering that other AI companies like to steal your data and steal all the little bits about you that they can, this is a good change in my opinion, and I'm looking forward to what Apple's take on AI could be, even though it's based on Google Gemini. Of course, the saddest part of this whole event was that this is Tim Cook's last portrayal, or him showing up on a live event as the CEO of Apple. I believe he was CEO for 15 years, and of course he's made good changes. I've never met him, but he seemed like a pretty good boss to have for Apple, considering how big and how important they've become in the world. And yeah, I suppose we'll have to wait and see how John Turnus does it. He's an engineer, so hopefully he does a good job. High hopes. Let's see him in the fall when he showcases the new iPhones, and we'll see how good of a presenter he is. If he goes for the classic good morning. That was cringe, I'm sorry. So what does this whole keynote mean? Well, Apple's kind of at a turning point right now because they're slowly adopting artificial intelligence, whilst other competitors have been doing it for 2 or more years. So we'll kind of have to see how it plays out. Of course, Apple's quite good at these kind of things. They're never really the first to the game, but they're usually the ones that either win it or perfect it. So I have high hopes. I'm an Apple user myself, of course, but I think many people out there also have high hopes. And hopefully the whole AI thing pans out, and the whole privacy thing, of course, as well. So I'm quite excited. There could be some cool things in the future when it comes to the whole AI aspect of it, but we'll have to wait, of course. Overall, this was not an earth-shattering event. This was quite a down-to-earth keynote. It was a lot of AI, but every single company right now is focused on AI, so I'm not going to blame them for it. Hopefully it actually comes into fruition and we get something useful out of it as consumers. I also want to note that iOS 27 will be available on all iPhone 11s and newer, so obviously iPhone 17 to iPhone 11 will be able to adopt iOS 27, which is quite cool. iOS 27 on an iPhone 11, kind of weird. Anyways, I'm excited for this. I hope other people out there are also excited for this. Of course, the developer beta is out right now, and then in July they will release the public beta. I'm not downloading it, as I said. It destroys your phone, it destroys your devices, so I'm not going to take part of that. Go watch some other videos that might showcase like the examples who are willing to risk their phones, unlike me. But yeah, I'm quite excited, and looks kind of cool, even though the appearance hasn't changed. We'll have to wait and see. But thank you so much for watching anyways. I hope there was some kind of a recap, that you got some useful information out of this, and I really hope to see you in the next one. So thank you very much for watching. Take 2, paragraph 18. Actually, let me check if this is recording. Oh wow, this is 33 minutes. Poor me.